rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. Wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of grey in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
From around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to this week's The World of Gaming. And Dutch, it is an exciting week because we had some actual major news on Halo this week.
Yes.
So I can't wait to talk about that and all the other things that happened in gaming this week. But first, of course, we have to. I lost the train of thought.
Welcome in our community.
Welcome. Welcoming the community. Exactly, man.
Been one of those days, Boxy. It's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm super tired. I just told you that before. We had a big storm tonight here, and nothing like the hurricane in Florida. So nothing like that. But
yeah.
Like I was woken up at 4 a.m. because the gigantic sun umbrella from my neighbor flew over and basically hit our window where we go out into the backyard, and I had to take care of that, of course. And after that, I wasn't able to get back to sleep. So I'm a little tired today. And if I lose my train of thought, I want to apologize up front. But now, let's properly welcome our community.
Yes.
Welcome to you guys. It's great to see a lot of familiar names already in the chat. And of course, a big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Welcome. And I hope you guys are doing fine. Dutch, how are you doing this week?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm tired. I'm back to the gym properly now, so I'm doing that 3 nights a week on top of work during the day, and then any other times I'm then relaxing, playing video games if I can, or if I'm not too tired. So I'm tired, and then of course, like you say, you've had a storm over there. Ours has been pretty gnarly over here as well. Fun fact, the BBC weather app was malfunctioning today, and apparently we had winds of up to 15,500 miles an hour. So
Man.
We've had it bad. Florida, you've got no idea.
But yeah, man, the things that happen in Florida are horrible, of course, and we hope.
I've got to say, I know how it feels because I was unfortunate enough to be on holiday twice for both Irma and Dorian. So I've been part of those before, and they're not great, not nice at all. So I hope everyone's homes are safe, your families are safe, and you not have too much damage this week for those of you in Florida, and you can get back home safely.
Absolutely. All right, Dutch. Let us get into the podcast properly. We're here to talk about video games and take our minds off a little bit of what's happening elsewhere in the world. That's what video games are for, right?
Indeed.
They provide us with distraction from the world. And Dutch, that means it's time to talk about our games of the week.
Jingle
time. All right. As every week, of course, we want to know from everyone in this community, what have you guys been playing? And Dutch, of course, let us know what kept you busy over the last week.
Indeed. You'll be proud of me today, actually, because today I have Age of Empires gameplay on screen for my viewers.
Oh, I'm very proud of you. Oh, nice. Console version or PC version?
Yeah, console version.
Console, yeah.
My friend likes playing Age. He likes RTSs. He's a big Halo Wars fan, but he's also a massive Command and Conquer fan. From when that was big, he used to play that all the time. So he loves Age. He's been asking me to play it for a little bit now, so I jumped on the console version with him, downloaded Age 2, and we've been playing skirmish matches against the AI. So we've been having these big giant maps, and we've been going 2v2 versus the AI. So that's been fun. But
it's fun, man.
Console. I so much more prefer playing Age on PC. It's just placing things on console is an absolute nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And then there is no grouping together, which also annoys the living shit out of me. Because you can select a handful of things, but you can't like group to 1 or group to 2, and then just select, okay, you go here and you go here.
Yeah.
You have to consistently just like scan the area for available units and then move them. And then when you're in an area, you've got to scan them again and then move them again. So it's a bit of a pain in the arse.
Okay.
But I still enjoy Age. I love Age, to be fair. And it's been fun playing that and getting back into it again. But the AI, when you go into these big skirmish matches, they just bombard you with siege weapons all the time. So you've got to just be ultra defensive from the start and loads of barricades and towers.
What difficulty have you been playing on? AI difficulty.
Well, I've forgotten what's the one above moderate. It's the one just above moderate. I can't remember the actual name.
Is that standard or expert?
No, you've got standard, moderate, then expert. I think expert. So we'll be playing it on expert.
Okay.
And that's they're just relentless. It's just lots of siege weapons, hundreds of siege weapons. And it's like from Age, as soon as you go into Age 2, they just start sending siege weapons. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But no, it's been fun. And then, other than Age 2 on console, we've been playing FIFA, the new FIFA. Been playing Pro Clubs. We've been playing the new Rush mode on that, which is 5v5. And that's been all right as well. That's been okay. They're more team-based players when they do play, so they get very frustrated and they take it far too seriously. But I never take any of these games, especially competitive games, that seriously online, so I don't like start getting angry about it like they do. So if we're conceded a goal or anything, it really doesn't bother us. I'm just like, oh well, on to the next. and then just move on. But they were getting super frustrated. So, but when we were winning, it was good, and we were having a good laugh and things. So that was cool. And other than that, outside of that, I have been playing the Rising Tide DLC for Final Fantasy 16, and I'm slightly frustrated by the boss on that and his final form, which, well, I think it's his third final form, but after that it becomes easier again because it's just like a lot of the QTE stuff. He puts up this huge shit. The Leviathan is the main boss, of course. That's what the entire DLC is about. And he puts up this massive shield around him, and you have to get rid of the shield within 2.5 minutes. And all you have to do is just all-out attack. But of course, if you don't do enough damage to the shield in that time, then he just does a game-over attack that just wipes you out and ends the fight. So, so that frustrated the living hell out of me. So I've just put the PS5 in rest mode for the minute until I can be bothered to go back to it and and beat it when I've got the energy. So.
Can totally understand that.
Yeah.
That's good. Good stuff. So let's see what the community has been playing. Lily in the chat played Baldur's Gate 3 all week. You can never go wrong with that. Fantastic game. Finished my first run as a good hero, and I already started a new run as a Dark Urge going full evil. I'm totally addicted. Nice. I'm still... I've only finished it once, but Baldur's Gate really is the game that invites you to do another playthrough and simply do a lot of the stuff differently. But my first playthrough, I played as a nice guy. So,
okay.
The Apirist says, I've been feeding my addiction on potato and also continuing my second journey through Cyberpunk. I've now completed Phantom Liberty.
Nice. Awesome.
Great game. H. Julia has been playing Star Wars Outlaws. Man, I'm always happy when I see people playing that because that game didn't really get enough attention. It was a really good game. Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. So, what have I been playing, Dutch? I've been playing quite a lot, actually. Especially over the last weekend.
Got a couple in my chat as well, actually, before we...
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Nino Vostek has been playing Starfield. He's also been playing Mafia Definitive Edition. He's been playing Resident Evil 3.
Very good choice.
And Martha is Dead. And Apex. And Halo. And COD.
Jesus.
Reza Ultron has been playing Generation Zero. He said that's been consuming his life recently. And I'm sure there's another one up there somewhere. If I have missed it, I apologize. Oh, yes. Pure Dead Xbox. Ran through Sifu and had a blast playing with it. Hopped back into Pentiment to tide over until Metaphor releases. Nice.
Yeah, Pentiment, man.
I have heard good things about
it. I tried it. Wasn't for me, man.
What?
Pentiment.
Yeah.
Pentiment.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't click with me. So,
yeah.
But I hope he's enjoying it, man. Mr. Glass is also playing Starfield and Sifu. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I am looking forward to playing Metaphor at some point. I've heard nothing but good things about it. People that have played it, it's just been awesome.
Getting great reviews.
Yeah. Even Rand enjoys it, and Rand is notoriously against a lot of these, as I get these, should we say, ultra Japanese games. But apparently a lot of people love it. And it's one that I've got my eyes on as well. However, I've made a point of not buying every game that just comes out recently because otherwise I would never get anything finished. So I'm going to finish the ones I've got first, and then I'll get the ones that I've missed out on.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Metaphor's getting a lot of good reviews, and everybody who's playing it is enjoying it. But I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced. There is?
Yeah, there's a demo on Xbox,
That might be good. That might be a good idea to check that out.
It's a beefy one as well. Apparently, it's Pure Dead in the chat here says 7 hours for him.
Ooh.
That's a beefy demo. Yeah.
Jeez, yeah, that's a big demo.
And progress carries over.
You know, the thing is just there's so much to play right now, and I barely have the time. And if a game really didn't catch my interest when seeing something of it, I rather tend to play the games that I'm already either playing and trying to finish those, or you know what I mean. So, but yeah, maybe if I have a gap over the Christmas break, or I don't know when there will be a gap. So, but yeah, man, I've been playing. So listen, I've been playing quite a lot, and I promise you to keep the age talk down. So I get that out of the way.
Yes.
And keep the age talk short. But I've been playing. I've now decided that I try to optimize my play style with Hades as my main god, and focus on archers and infantry with him. I know a lot of people say, you should go cavalry with Hades, but nah, I'm not feeling that, man. I'm not feeling that. And last week I've talked to you about this great build order that I thought I found, and then I was playing a couple of online matches, and honestly, it turns out it can be countered quite easily. And so I found a different build order that is basically focusing on a second TC, because the second TC is for, it's always a big question. What do you do after aging up?
Yeah.
For the first time. Yeah. Either you go aggressive against the enemy, but then you don't have the resources for the second TC, or you try to hold on for a bit and go second TC and get your economy up and try to get to H3 as quickly as possible, and then harass your enemy. So, and I've found that with Hades, it's kind of hard to play against the Egyptians, because the Egyptians have the boost with their priest, you know, and they can go earlier than 3 minutes to H2, and you just can't do that with Hades. So it's, for me, I found out, okay, the second TC build is quite good, because Hades is also very good in defending, because you can, like, his god power in the first stage is that you can spam additional towers around your town centers to defend yourself. So defending with Hades is actually quite easy, and that brings up, of course, the possibility to just go to second TC, and we've been pretty successful with that, even on online matches. So maybe we'll watch one of these matches later. So, but I promise you, I keep it short this week with Age. So I'm happily playing that, of course. Nice. But besides that, I finished Shattered Space, like, of course, the main story, and quite a lot of the side quests. Of course, it's impossible to do everything, but did quite a good chunk of the side missions, which are actually pretty good in the DLC. Some of the side missions have been really good, take you to interesting places as well. And yeah, I finished the main story as well. And man, what shall I say? It's more Starfield. If you didn't like the original game, you're not going to love this one, but it is a fantastic add-on. My only nitpick is that the story in itself wasn't probably the best to choose. There have been, like, I mean, you can compare the DLC to one of the faction quest lines. It's basically another faction quest line, and it wasn't the best story. Let me put it that way. It's a little complicated, and I don't know. I wasn't really satisfied with the end result, and so that this would be my only nitpick. But overall, it is a fantastic DLC. Some cool mission design, some good stuff happening there, and I really do enjoy that. So.
Was it a long play for you, or how long would you say it took you?
Including doing the side missions, it was around about 12 hours.
Okay.
So if you would concentrate only on the main mission, I would say maybe 6, 7, 8 hours, depending a little bit on difficulty you're playing.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
It's a fairly good DLC, man. I didn't expect. I've seen people complain, you know, you can finish it so quickly and it's barely any content. And What did you expect? You're not getting like 5 different fully fledged faction quest lines as a DLC. It's one of the faction quest lines plus tons of side quests. And 10, 12 hours is a fair asking price point for such DLC. So I'm happy with that. Totally.
I've got it there and I've got it installed. It's just when I'm finished with other bits, I'll get to it. I'm not in a rush.
So after finishing that, I actually finished that, I think, last Friday or so.
Yeah.
I went hard over the weekend on Visions of Mana, man.
Nice.
I would say, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12 hours or something like that in now. And I'm absolutely loving it. Dude, honestly, we're talking Game of the Year contenders. I could see Visions of Mana. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be my Game of the Year after not having finished it and only having played like the first chapter or so.
Yeah.
But if the game continues on that level, it'll definitely be in my list of Game of the Year contenders.
To me, it gets better as it goes through. I'm over halfway.
Really?
I'm over halfway now. The story gets better, the game gets better, the enemies get better, the powers get better. It's overall the game just continues to get better as time progresses in that thing. And of course, you can go back and forwards to each location. You've got traveling throughout the map. There's ways and means of doing that as well, so you can go back to any area and mop up things that you haven't done before. And it does get much better as time goes through on that game. Like, I was enjoying it at the start, but it's significantly better now.
Sweet. I love to hear that, man, because I'm having a blast with Visions of Mana. But then, of course, Vessel of Hatred came out.
Yeah.
And I had to jump back into Diablo and play Vessel of Hatred. I would say I'm playing the new class, Spiritborn.
Spiritborn, yeah.
Now I'm level 30 or something, 31, 32, something like that right now.
Yeah.
Playing right now, of course, through the new campaign, which is actually pretty awesome. Really good. I mean, I really enjoyed the campaign of of Diablo. We're getting to Halo later.
Yeah.
Of Diablo.
I loved it. I thought Lilith was the perfect evil.
Yeah, and they continue right where the main story ended.
Yeah.
Like, they do a little 2-minute recap of the main story, and it just continues, and it is fantastic. Yeah, great cutscenes, great mission design. I love it. It's really, really good. And the new class actually is pretty, pretty awesome. It reminds me a lot of, from the trailers, I thought this is something like, one of these classes that can spam other creatures. What was it called in Diablo 3? I'm blanking on the name right now. Not sorcerer, but I don't know. I can't remember. But it isn't. It plays a lot like the monk.
Okay.
If you remember back to Diablo 2 or so.
Yeah.
It plays a lot like that. So fast-paced combat, melee combat, close-range combat, that's his thing. And honestly, there are some really badass builds that you can do. I'm having a blast with the new class, and overall, I'm not in the end game yet, but they've changed a lot. They don't have the world tiers anymore. Yeah, they've changed that to standard difficulty levels, and they did also level cap your character now at level 60. But then the Paragon points transfer to all your characters, and they've done some really good changes, man. And Diablo is better than ever. Honestly, fantastic. And I think a lot of people want to see Diablo 4, because if I look at the poll in the chat, what gameplay are we going to watch? It's a clear winner this week for Diablo 4. So let's put that on. You'll see some gameplay relatively early in the campaign. I would say like 2-3 hours or so into the campaign is the footage that you see now.
Yeah.
I'm of course now way further in, but yeah, and it's fantastic. All right, Dutch. But with that, the Witch Doctor Abdul in the chat reminds me that the Witch Doctor. Yeah. That's the class I was referring to, where you could like spam different creatures that help you on the battlefield, you know. And I thought I don't know why, but from the trailers of Vessel of Hatred, I thought the new class, the Spiritborn, is something like that. Yeah, but it really isn't. It is basically the monk. Yeah. The monk combined with some magic, something like that I would describe it, but it's really, really fun to play. So, all right, Dutch, let us get into some actual topics of the week.
Jingle.
All right. We'll get to Halo in a second. But first, I wanted to talk to you about something else. We start with some smaller news to get them out of the way before we talk about the big topic.
Yeah.
Have you seen Red Dead Redemption? The first one is coming to PC for the very first time after, what has it been now, 12, 13 years or so since the first one released. It's coming to PC for the first time. And I want to bring that up because I still think that Red Dead 1 is better than the fantastic Red Dead 2. Don't get me wrong, Red Dead 2 was awesome, but Red Dead 1 was is one, you know, I only have like 5-6 games or so, I would say, that are a 10 out of 10. I know a lot of people always go out there, oh, I love this game, it's a 10, you know. I don't do that because there are only very, very few games that deserve the 10 out of 10 rating, in my opinion. And Red Dead 1 is one of them. And there are only like 5 or maybe 6 games, I would say, are a 10 out of 10 over the last 35, 40 years. So Red Dead 1 coming to PC. The downside is they didn't do really anything to it. It's not remaster or remake in any way. They didn't move it over to the same engine like Red Dead 2 or so. But it's a release.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I kind of have to get that, playing that again on the alley or so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then the asking price is $50 for it.
Yeah.
So just briefly, your thoughts. Is that worth it? What do you think, man?
I mean, it's a few other bits. They have got some modern technologies in there. It actually has a higher system requirement than Red Dead 2, surprisingly. So it actually,
yeah.
but they have included Intel XeSS. They have included the newest FSR. They have included DLSS.
Yeah.
So they've got all the modern upscaling technologies in there. They've got ultra widescreen support. They've added a few extra bits. It is a little bit more, probably a little bit, I would imagine, a little bit better in terms of its visual fidelity and shadows and things like that than you would find on the upscaled version that we had on Xbox. That got the native 4K version. So, I mean, it's awesome. Eventually coming to PC. It took long enough. But
true that.
Just in time for Halloween as well. Gets the Undead Nightmares DLC with it. So
yeah.
So no, it's good. It's good. But again, it's not. I already own it on. I already own it on Xbox. I own Red Dead 2 on Xbox. It's not one of the games for me that I want to go back and buy again on PC just because it's a little bit marginally fancier with some newest technologies. So, it's great, but knowing PC and PC sales, it won't be $50 for long. It'll be reduced in price within no time. So, if I do ever end up picking it up, I'll get it on the cheap.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm probably going to get it anyway, even though I don't really have the time right now to play it again, because I think I have finished it 3 times, at least 3 times, maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Sin in the chat is saying, isn't Red Dead Redemption actually Red Dead Revolver 2? Yeah, that's actually true. Red Dead Redemption 1 wasn't like the first in the series, but Red Dead Revolver kind of was like just a very different game than the Red Dead Redemption games, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, technically he's right. And Red Dead 2 is actually Red Dead Revolver 3. So, that, yeah, and some good stuff there. Dutch, you mentioned they've added FSR and DLSS and all the upscaling technologies, and that brings me to another topic I wanted to discuss with you.
Yes.
And of course, awesome community. And that is, we got the first comparison or hands-on preview of PSSR.
Yes.
Because Digital Foundry actually got the hands on The Last of Us Part 2 with PSSR, and they've done quite a good comparison. And to be honest, I know it's just one game. We have to see that technology used more widely on different games and out in the wild on retail boxes and everything. I totally get that and understand that. Nevertheless, it gives you an idea what are they going for. Is it going to be a substantial improvement over the software versions like FSR that are out there, and it looked like that. I mean, you've seen the comparison, right? The upscaling isn't really like a DLSS quality already. That's not the case, but it is. It seems to be, at least from this one game comparison, a substantial improvement over FSR. And isn't that what we really want? Like a proper AI-based, hardware-supported upscaling technology like that. And I thought, like, let's hear your thoughts and the thoughts of the community right now. Is PSSR really, first of all, good? Is it the reason why you might want to take that really, really hard price point in of the PS5 Pro? What are your thoughts on this, man?
I'd still say no in terms of it being a reason to spend that much money, but everyone to themselves. But that wouldn't be one thing that would get me to purchase a PS5 Pro. It's good to see the first implementation is looking decent. The vast majority of first implementations of upscaling technology aren't that great. We've seen that with FSR.
That's so true.
We've seen that with DLSS. XCSS
DLSS 1, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but XCSS, the 0.7, I think, was the first implementation also.
Yeah.
With the Intel's XCSS 1.0 launch, yeah, it was good. But
the test version.
Not comparable to DLSS, though, yeah.
The good thing is, though, is you can get a good feeler as to the technology that'll be in the new PS6. Because, of course, the first thing they'll be wanting to do is, right, okay, so how does it work on this, and how do we get the best out of it on previous titles, and how will it... The problem we've also got, though, is it's all well and good using these technologies on older games that run on older hardware and upscaling them to work better. But again, they're older titles.
Do we realistically? I mean, that's the question from Siki in the chat. Do devs need to use it, or does it do it automatically? And devs have to definitely code for it. It's not.
I think it's a mixture of both, because you could quite easily just toggle anything on, and it would work. But it doesn't mean it's going to work to the best of its ability without some form of control. Okay, so what parts are falling down?
Not sure if it's just putting on a toggle, honestly, with these hardware-based...
That's what I'm saying. So I don't think I don't think automatically working it would be the best way to do it for any developer. I think, yes, you could, if they're saying, yes, it would automatically do X, Y, and Z, it would probably give some benefits, but it probably wouldn't be smooth, and it probably wouldn't give the same kinds of benefits you would get if you actually put work into using the technology properly. So I would say, although much like Xbox says, oh yeah, we can do the upscaling to 4K and we can do the free 60 FPS boost and the free HDR like they do to all of these, that still requires a team to do that for these titles and implement them. And that'll be the same on PS5 Pro and PS6. It's a case of the developers will actually have to do work to use it. Yes, it could just work, but I don't think it would be as smooth and as stable as it would be if they'd actually done the legwork on it. Saying that though, it's still early days. These are the titles that have been playing on the PS5 for a while. Yes, we've seen some improvement, which is great, but they aren't titles that have been built with, for instance, PS5 in mind. These are titles that have historically been built with PS4 in mind, like The Last of Us Part 2. Even Rebirth. Rebirth was a good version of it, but that wasn't great to begin with in performance mode, so it wasn't hard to get a benefit out of that. Because it looked blurry and smooth as hell. I would say the litmus test would be games either further on in the generation that have implemented implemented PSSR from the start, to see how a new title with that in mind has made benefits to these technologies.
But are we realistically gonna see that during this generation? Because
I think you'll see it on. Obviously, you've still got Wolverine coming out. That'll implement it. You've still got things like that.
Okay, that's what you mean. You will definitely see implementations of it, but I don't think that we will see any games that build around that technology. That's going to come if we get next gen PS6 gen games only. Then,
that's when you'll see the real litmus test. But I think to get a good understanding of how good it can be, we won't really know truly how good it could be until you see the likes of a Wolverine coming out and you go, right, okay, so what have they managed to leverage PSSR for in a new title on PS5 Pro that is built specifically for the PlayStation 5? What have they managed to leverage that technology for these games, and how will that benefit it? So for instance, if they launch Wolverine, because we know Spider-Man and Miles Morales and things, they're all beautiful games. But if they launch it, for instance, and instead of having a 4K with staggered frame rate 60 mode or upscaled mode, it's a native 4K with 60 thanks to PSSR, or it is fucking God knows 2K 120 or something ridiculous. Then you'll go, okay, right, this is where we see what they're able to leverage that technology for. So it's still early days, and like any one of these upscaling technologies, there's a good learning period here. The only thing I don't like about Digital Foundry's analysis for me is the fact that the way to see the most clear benefit is to zoom in 100 times or 250% to see the differences between the images. I think kind of besides the point.
I mean, I know what you mean.
In Motion's an entirely different story, and half of the problem is you can't truly. PSSR and DLSS and all of those things are more, as much as it gives visual clarity and performance boost, one of the things it does is create a different feel to the game, and you can't translate how much better the game feels because of this via a video. You can say, oh yeah, the frame rate's more stable here, and it's a little bit more of a boost. So until we feel these things and say, okay, right, it feels significantly better than it did previously because of PSSR, then we won't really know. So I think that's one of the downsides to these comparisons. Is it's all well and good doing a 250% zoom to show me the difference between foliage that is sharper on one image and not on the other. But
Yeah,
I'm not going to be sitting that close to the TV.
I know what you mean with these digital foundry videos. I mean, we've talked about this before. Yeah, okay, if you zoom in 400 times and then you see a little difference here and there. But of course, on the other hand, they also have to kind of struggle the YouTube compression, you know, that's the one thing. The other thing is, it is also, how do you really properly highlight it? Other than that, in when most people watch it on their phones or something, and it is the one thing. But I think it is clear that obviously PSSR does its job. We have to kind of admit that, and I'm happy that consoles get a proper AI-based, hardware-supported upscaling technology.
Yeah.
Now, is it worth getting the PS5 for that? Of course, that is something everyone has to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
I still think that the asking price point is too high, even if you have a good upscaling technology.
Yeah.
And it will also, again, like for them handing over Last of Us, a pretty old game by now.
Yeah.
Over that has been heavily optimized to be a showcase for that technology. Means, yeah, I want to see more. I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued. Am I getting a PS5 Pro for that? No, probably not. Isn't worth for me. But of course, this is basically the groundwork for what we can expect next gen. I fully believe that Xbox is going to follow suit and will also provide a hardware-based upscaler. Honestly, it's also something we've talked about. I wouldn't rule out that they do something similar like with the original Xbox and not use AMD, but NVIDIA this upcoming gen. Because, NVIDIA has been providing pretty good chips, APUs by now. That's definitely something. And backward compatibility could be an issue if you move over. But hey, they got the team back, the backward compatibility team, after having been shut down. Sarah Bond reopened that team. There's got to be a reason for that. They wouldn't have to reopen it if they would just move along with the same architecture.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. Of course, the marketing speech that she used of the biggest technical leap ever with the next gen. Yeah, but what would you really truly expect? And if there is a big, gigantic leap, you would expect in this day and age to have a hardware-supported AI upscaler. So whether it's NVIDIA or if it's going to be AMD, it doesn't matter. I fully expect Xbox to have an answer to that. And PS5 is doing it, and it apparently looks, at least from what we've seen, good in The Last of Us. We need to see more, obviously, different games. And I don't expect that too many developers are going to actually really optimize for PSSR, because realistically, the install base is super small. If you're a game developer, we've seen over the last couple of weeks now that pre-orders aren't that high, not anywhere near as the hype was for the PS4 Pro, or let alone PS5 on launch day, or Xbox Series X on launch day, when they were completely sold out everywhere. The poor scalpers, right? Doesn't look like they are going to be able to leverage this time on the PS5 Pro.
Only the 30th anniversary edition.
But it seems like the price, the asking price point seems just to be too high, and I actually like that the people seem to, at least from what we've heard by now, seem to kind of vote with their wallet, right? And it is good, because I don't want to become an 800 euro console that requires me to invest another $100 for a stand and a disk drive and everything. even though I wouldn't probably get the disk drive, me personally, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So the real asking price point is way above 800 euros, which translate into over $1,000 just to be clear here. Yeah, I don't want to become that the standard. So I'm kind of happy about that. The people seem to be voting with their wallet. On the other hand, I really do like that consoles are going into that direction. We don't know what AMD is calling their hardware solution. NVIDIA calls it tensor cores, right? But going into that direction to have a proper upscaling, a DLSS-like solution, it'll, and honestly, if Xbox does that in its next gen, and they, again, I have no doubt that that they will go into that direction. But man, could you imagine if they go actually NVIDIA and do DLSS, which is basically still king out there in the solutions? That would actually mean a pretty interesting generation, because we already know that Sony has ordered the next chip for the PS6 from AMD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so they will definitely, and then we would have actually, and that would be quite interesting to have actually a difference in the consoles, because realistically right now the Xbox Series X and PS5 are the same. They are the same consoles. You can argue all day long about full RDNA 2 or not full RDNA 2 and a little clock speed here and there, but at the end of the day, listen, those consoles are the same, right? But if Xbox would go NVIDIA and PlayStation AMD, we kind of would have like a real difference there, and it would make these comparisons a lot more interesting then. So yeah, we shall see where this goes with next gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's
Good
hopefully.
stuff.
I mean,
By the way,
I also agree. I would love to see Xbox change and go back to NVIDIA. Obviously, they started off their lives on NVIDIA, then they moved over to AMD. And yeah, I'd love for them to go back to NVIDIA and have that difference between the two again. Okay, we've got AMD versus NVIDIA, two different consoles, different architectures, doing different things.
Doing different things, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be really interesting. And again, we've talked about it, but with them really going to play your games anywhere you want and do whatever you want, and you don't need to buy a console and all the stuff, to me it seems more realistic than ever before that they are moving away from the Xbox OS, and the next console, and I would honestly place a bet, is going to be heavily based on Windows. I don't expect the console to boot fully into your desktop. Yeah, that's not going to happen. There'll still be like an interface, a console-like interface there, but at its core, it's running on Windows, because that would give them such an edge over their competitor, because every game out there is developed for Windows, and developers wouldn't have to like release a different console version.
Yeah.
You know, that is the pain in the ass for developers right now. They develop their games for PC anyway. Like every game comes out on PC, right? So basically Windows. So they and if developers wouldn't have to develop a separate console version, but really let their games run natively on Windows, but it's hidden in a console format, that would make such a huge difference there. And if then they and then add that to an NVIDIA GPU there, with having like DLSS available in all the games, it would be awesome, man. It would be like a killer thing to do. But yeah, we can only dream. We can only dream. By the way, did you see that funny comparison advertisement from Boosteroid against the PS5 Pro, man?
Yeah.
It was like hilarious. So for those who didn't see, Boosteroid, the streaming service, put out like a comparison that was like wait before you buy the PS5 Pro, because Boosteroid offers tons of more games, exclusive games, meaning all the PC games. It provides same resolution and performance at the cost of only 15 euros a month versus the 800 euros. And I don't know, stuff like that. It was like a really funny advertisement.
Yeah, it's weird to see a streaming service go for that, to be honest. And it's the first time I've seen Boosteroid try and advertise themselves like that as well. So it was funny.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, Dutch. Let us talk about the big news, the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Yeah. Halo is back.
Yes.
Well, kind of back, at least with some info, some substantial infos. Honestly, they talked a lot. So basically 3 things were announced, right? 343 is no more.
Yep.
They have kind of, well, rebranded themselves as Halo Studios, overseeing all Halo activities. And with that, they've said, well, multiple Halo games are in the works right now. And the big thing is, of course, Halo is moving over to Unreal Engine 5. So quite some interesting news there. And we go through it, right? Let's talk about the name change and everything that comes along with it. 343 isn't anymore. It's Halo Studios now. What do you think about this, man?
I mean, yeah, I think they've done it intentionally to kind of get rid of it. I think the 343's got its own weird tainted name now because people just associated that with games that they didn't really like, whether it was Halo 4 or Halo 5 or Infinite. And they were much preferring, I think they want to distance themselves from those games that didn't quite do what people wanted it to, and start afresh and start a new leaf. The only thing I would say about the name change that isn't great is the logo. I think the logo is the logo is really super basic. I think they could have done a better job with the logo.
Yeah.
But no, it's also strange though, because obviously 343 in itself had there was a reason for the name. Halo 343 Guilty Spark. Which was obviously it's a big part of the Halo franchise, Guilty Spark. So, yeah, it's obviously moving on, but moving on for the right reasons. They want to turn over a new leaf, and for reasons we will get into.
Yeah, I mean it kind of makes sense, right? You can argue all day long whether Infinite was great or not, but it wasn't received as they were hoping it would be received, right? I really did love the campaign. I enjoyed my playthrough. It played great. I also thought the multiplayer played fantastic, but the big problem came obviously after launch. They didn't support it with content. There was nothing that they were delivering that continued the game properly. The game was just poorly handled afterwards. The release itself, I thought, was great. But
then it went dry
obviously, they went dry for months. But obviously, Halo Infinite didn't do what they were hoping it would do. It is still a controversial game. And after 5 being not received as well, and let's be real, that was the worst campaign probably in. It was the Halo game.
It was the marketing that let that one down significantly, because they made it out in the marketing that it was something that it wasn't. We thought there was going to be this massive civil war between these two Spartans, and that just didn't happen. You ended up playing 90% of the campaign as 2 separate Spartan factions doing 2 different things. And you're like, what is... And then at the end you have this tiny little fight thing that you don't actually control. It was just a cutscene, and then that was pretty much it. So, yeah, when they were like, choose your side, who's right and who's wrong, who's the enemy and who's not. And it was just, that's what I think most of that would piss people off, because it's like, well, that isn't really what happened in the game, though, is it? Like,
yeah. I totally agree.
And then
But,
the enemies,
you know,
with again, people weren't quite keen on the enemy variety in Halo 5 either, and I don't blame them. It went away from the enemies we used to know against some hyper futuristic disappearing enemies.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? So 343 really didn't land any of the Halo games. I mean, 4 was good, don't get me wrong. 4 was good. It was a pretty impressive technical achievement on the old 360, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 343 kind of is controversial, and after a lot of the prominent managers leaving, like Bonnie Ross and everything, I think they kind of want to rebrand and get back to Halo in a way that feels okay. We are kind of, I don't want to use the word rebooting the IP, but we want to get back to Halo core, and with that, doing something like a name change and saying, okay, this is a new chapter. It's not just the next 343 Halo, but it is really a new chapter for the IP. It kind of makes sense for them to change the name, do the reorganize the organization itself, is what they also did along with that, and it definitely made sense. So then they went over to Unreal 5, right?
Yep.
I mean, the news isn't that shocking, if we are honest, because these kind of rumors have been out for quite a while. Yeah, but we really didn't get confirmation. What I was truly surprised about, though, is the fact that they have shown quite the impressive, in-engine what is it? Sceneries?
Yeah.
They specifically said it's not a game, but it's also more than, or not just the usual tech demo or
it's
so.
An experiment to see how it works in real.
How it works, right?
Yeah.
And from what they've shown, it was quite interesting because it looked beautiful. Yeah, as you would expect from an Unreal 5 game. We had proper ray traced reflections. You could really see the reflections of the environment in the visor of the chief, and everything looked beautiful. What I found really interesting is that they've shown different biomes, snowy areas and everything. And of course, I want the flood to come back, and they've shown this alienated biome looked fantastic from what we've seen. So then you can also bring up, of course, the argument about Unreal, though. I mean, Unreal is taxing, Unreal is demanding, it has its frame pacing issues. That's definitely an issue in the Unreal Engine 5. But yeah, what do you think about this Unreal move before I share more of my thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I think the key takeaway is the one thing that we want to remain in this is that Halo still feels like Halo, which will be the hardest thing for them to transfer over from their engine to Unreal. And also maintain the performance that you get from the Halo games, because of course you've got 4K, you've got 120. Like, it's hyper polished, and in terms of its actual game performance, it works really well and really smooth. On Unreal Engine, however, I don't think you've seen an FPS probably of this magnitude go on to Unreal Engine before. I can't even think. I can't think of one.
Which is kind of weird, because if you remember how Unreal Engine started, it started with a shooter, first-person shooter, Unreal, and then Unreal Tournament, and all the good stuff. So that was like the foundation of Unreal Engine, right?
Yeah. And then of course, but it's a thing of firsts for Unreal after this. So we've also had The Witcher going over, and The Witcher will be probably one of the largest largest RPGs as well, going on to Unreal for the first time, moving the Red Engine.
I mean, we are going to get Stalker 2 this year.
Yeah.
Oh, also first-person shooter, open world, massive game.
Yeah.
Apparently with a 60 FPS mode
bit
on
different
console.
again, because Stalker 2 doesn't require the same pace.
Yeah, I agree.
Halo does.
I agree. Yeah, it's different in a competitive game. Absolutely.
Yeah. And not just even competitively, but the generalized movement of Halo in campaign has always been 60, nothing less, and it's been super sharp. And even then, if you put it in performance mode, 120. Like, so to be able to try and eke out the graphical advancements that they want to be, because they've said Halo, when it was released, was a big jump in like the graphical powerhouse and the graphical fidelity of games when it first released, and we want that to be the case again now. And if that's the case, great, but how would you maintain that and also achieve the performance that we're used to in Halo games and have it feel as good as Halo games feel? Because there's one thing you can't slate about any of the Halo games, is none of them have been bad shooters in terms of the actual game mechanics.
No, on the contrary, especially if you look at Infinite, the gameplay itself, the shooting, the movement, it felt fantastic.
So that's the only thing, I think, my only thing for it. And they've even addressed that as well, though, in the video, because I watched it all. They even said it still needs to feel like Halo. And I think that's the key thing that's going to be the hardest part to translate over into Unreal. Is, does this still feel Halo? So time will tell. It's going to be a while away until we see anything. They've said they've got multiple projects in the work, which leads you to believe there is a new campaign in development.
Before we talk about that, I want to add a couple of things about this Unreal discussion. See, Unreal becomes kind of this industry standard. There's a lot of good things about that, obviously. It makes the hiring process for them significantly easier, because you don't have to like educate new developers into a proprietary engine, and until the staff gets the hang of all the nitbits of an engine that is proprietary. It is simply easier to hire talent that are familiar already with the engine. You only have to like introduce them into specialized tools and certain studio individual processes or something like that. It definitely makes things like that a lot easier. On the other hand, I don't want to see every proprietary engine leave and only have like Unreal Engine games. You know, we've seen it with the Red Engine. CD Projekt Red moved away from what was one of the best proprietary engines out there, right? Listen, there's barely any engine that could do what the Red Engine did in games like Cyberpunk or so. That's definitely the case. And the Slipspace engine felt great. It looked good. Nothing super exciting, but Halo Infinite looked really, really nice when it launched. So, I mean, that's the downside there. But then if you look especially at the Xbox Studio roster, right? It also kind of makes sense. You know, they have like almost all, there's the occasional exception, you know, like for Forza, respective Fable, that do use a different engine. But other than that, right, Obsidian, Unreal, Ninja Theory, Unreal,
Coalition,
Perfect Dark, Coalition, the Coalition, the best Unreal Engine developer out there, right?
Yeah.
State of Decay is now Unreal, and well, actually has always been Unreal, but you know what I mean. And so on. The list goes on, right? Unreal, they still have their proprietary engines with it, right? We're gonna see Indiana Jones now with it, and Fable is gonna use the Forza engine. But outside of those, yeah, Unreal seems to be the Xbox engine for Xbox first-party studios, right? And there's nothing wrong with that because it makes, of course, sharing technology and advice and support a lot easier in between those studios. And if you look at a studio like the Coalition, if you have some technical wizards like they are, right?
Yeah.
In your roster, and look at what Hellblade looked like. And if you have the technical wizards from a Ninja Theory and you could share that across studios, there's definitely something where Halo can also benefit from, right? So I'm actually very open-minded because I've seen a lot of people go like, no, not Unreal, and so on. I'm fully with you. They kind of need to get the feeling right, the physics right, the movement right, it just needs to feel like Halo. But overall, I totally can understand that. And making a proprietary engine that is up to date, state of the art, proprietary engine in the year 2024, 25, 26 is insanely expensive. It's a massive endeavor.
And you have to also not just build the engine at first, but also continuously upgrade the engine to continue with new technologies. Okay, now we have ray tracing. Now we have another verm of super sampling. Now we have X, Y, Z, and it keeps adding on as generations go on. And you have to spend more money on a new engine to upgrade the previous engine, which is now outdated. And that's what in the Infinite Slipspace engine was. It was just an older version of an older version of an older version of an older version implemented from since time began.
That's the thing.
And now
it's a massive endeavor.
Unreal Engine at Xbox Game Studios. It's Unreal Engine, id Tech, the Creation Engine,
Forza
Tech.
Send in the chat observation creation. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They have their proprietary engines.
But some of them just won't go. Like id Tech will never go. Forza Tech will never go because it works. It works unbelievably well.
Yeah, beautifully.
And you could argue Creation Engine, but then Creation Engine.
As long as they have Todd Howard on board, Bethesda's not going to leave the Creation Engine.
Yeah, but Unreal again. There's a reason Microsoft are doing that, and that's because they've got significant amount of teams that are experts at using the engine, so they're confident that would be. There's multiple reasons why that's a benefit to them, and they can ditch a couple of older engines like Slipspace, etc. And a lot of it also boils down to not just trying to make the best looking game, but also hiring people.
The hiring process.
It's an industry stable Unreal, so the process to hire someone who's very adept at using Unreal Engine is significantly easier than it is on getting somebody on board who's never used Slipspace and then training them up on Slipspace engine first and then getting them to start developing. It just wastes so much time doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There are some good engines mentioned in the chat. Crytek, Dustin in the chat says Crytek is still one of the best, but no one uses it. Yeah, he's right. Valhalla Studios is using CryEngine with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 now. The first one was also CryEngine, but it is definitely one of the technically most advanced engines out there, and even Crytek hasn't been using them because they haven't released any games in recent years. Yeah, Hunt is now what I want to say 6 years old or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Crysis 4 is in development.
Yeah.
We should see something of that I would expect next year. And Parasite is saying he likes the Snowdrop engine.
Yeah, Snowdrop's really good as well. Yeah.
Snowdrop is fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Star Wars Outlaws looked phenomenal.
Yeah. But we saw the hints of their new Snowdrop engine on Avatar, and I still think Avatar, out of the two games, Avatar still looks the best.
Yeah, I mean, Avatar really benefits from the lush environments,
uber
the lush
dense
forests.
environment.
Yeah, super dense, and then of course the lighting shines, because if you have these global illumination ray traced God rays coming through leaves in the forest, and the colorful environment and nature in itself. And Avatar was insanely beautiful. An insanely beautiful game. Yeah. Snowdrop is definitely a fantastic engine. So yeah, Dutch, multiple games in development now in with Halo. So let's talk about those. Obviously, there's going to be a new mainline Halo game.
Yeah.
So, before we talk or speculate about what else could be, what do you expect from the next mainline Halo?
The problem with Infinite, before we get into the next one, the problem with Infinite is that I think because of 5, they ham-fisted themselves into a corner, and they felt obliged in Infinite story to try and back themselves out of that corner to create something out of it. I think if it wasn't for 5 and that cluster of a campaign that nobody liked, Infinite wouldn't have had such a struggle on the campaign that people are like, well, it doesn't mop up this problem and doesn't do this, and this doesn't cover this part of the story, and why are we now here, and so on and so forth. So I think they did the best of a bad thing when they had to try and get themselves out of a shit previous campaign by creating something half decent for the next one. And ultimately how they tackle the next main campaign is anyone's guess. We've seen reports that they were developing Halo Infinite 2 and then they scrapped it. So are they just not calling the next one Halo Infinite and they're going down just something else entirely, but continuing on with a part of that story? Because we know Cortana is gone. She was kind of disseminated. She was destroyed. She's gone forever. And we've got the new one that's kind of was there to originally kill her or get rid of her. And then, of course, you've got the rest of it that kind of comes off the back of it. So, you know what it is? It's open, but I think they've just got to not have so many loose ends on the story. I think they need to tie up a lot of the loose ends for the next one. But they need to come out swinging. It needs to be, should we say, it sounds like a stupid word, but rambunctious. It needs to go absolutely off the walls and like do something wild to kind of get people involved. I think they've got away. If you have a think back to even Halo 2, you had the kind of chase sequence near the end over the lava and the panels were falling in, and people remember parts like that in the game. And if you have a think back to Halo Infinite, there wasn't really any of these big set piece scenarios like that that people remember. It was just go and clear this camp, and then go and kill this boss, and then go and kill this camp, and then go to clear this boss, and then the end kind of chugged along because you just had to go, okay, we'll go to this area and kill this boss, and then you move on to the next area and kill this boss. And that was kind of the end of the story after that. So I think they need to get back to these save some of the big set piece scenarios there and be a bit off the wall when it comes to some of these big cinematic moments, these memorable cinematic moments. Bring back a Spartan team as well. Don't go for just, because we did, if you have a think back to Reach, everybody loved Reach, and that was a Spartan team that people got behind. One that wasn't Master Chief, and everybody loved it. But bring back a Spartan team bring back a team and go through this emotional moments of this team, and one of them gets killed off or one of them doesn't get killed off, or you don't know what's happening with some of them. And yeah, I think they just need to take some risks. I think with the campaign, I think Infinite was good, but it was too safe. I think the campaign was too safe.
You know, what I would do and what I would like them to do is kind of use the next mainline Halo as a soft reboot. I mean, every game that or long-running IP out there kind of deals with the same struggles, right? The next mainline game would basically be Halo 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had multiple spin-offs with ODST and Reach and all the good stuff. However, after so many Halo games and having such a complicated lore out there, you kind of also have to ask yourself how to bring in new players. Because if someone starts now at Halo, where do you say you're going to start? Are you telling them, okay, you need to play like the previous 6 Halos plus the 2 spin-offs? And
you know what I like? You know what I like about some of the modern games that have got big backstories is that they include a kind of catch-up, like cinematic thing that you can watch before you even start the game.
Yeah.
And ideally, what you would probably need to do if you're going to continue a story arc like that is just say, like, have a little cinematic thing that you watch beforehand that gives you kind of.
I want them to do more. I would like really to go. Okay, we finished the story of the Chief and Cortana basically, and yes, there are some loose ends. Absolutely right, but kind of doing the next mainline Halo just to like wrap up these loose ends, and therefore like making it just hard for a new audience to like come into the franchise. Man, just do a soft reboot. You can pay homage to the lore before, right? But just bring back the Chief with his Cortana and do a soft reboot there, and then focus on what made the original trilogy so good. You mentioned the big set pieces. I absolutely agree on that. But you need to have these like memorable moments that you just remember. And I don't remember any of those in Halo 5 or Halo Infinite or so. That's the one thing. The other thing is like, really, why did we fall in love with the Halo lore so much? You had this interesting story of the Chief and his Cortana going on with the Arbiter and everything, and then suddenly, you have these almost horror-like elements coming in there with the Flood, and this made this such a... Man, there's a gigantic damn mosquito annoying the hell out of me here. So, with the Flood, they introduced like this third big party that isn't part of the intelligent universe. It's just the Flood, and I mean, we've seen in the trailer that they released earlier this week, like, okay, this is what an environment of the Flood would look like in Unreal Engine. And so cool, but bring those back, bring this, Halo feeling of the original spec, ditch the open world stuff. We don't really need that in a Halo game. Go more linear again. It is a corridor-based shooter, a skill-based corridor shooter, right? That is what made Halo great. And just remember those roots. And as for the story, again, I don't care if we still have some loose ends right now. Even me as a long-term fan playing Halo since the OG days, right? This whole lore became so complicated and big, and it makes it kind of hard to get into the Halo lore and make it, you can still like, you know, pay homage to the original storylines and so on, but don't make it a focus that this is a continuation of this chief story where Infinite left off. Just do reboot. We're going back to what made it great. We have the Flood in some way, shape, or form in there. We maybe bring back the Arbiter. I don't care. Just do it good. Make it easy to enter for new players. And this is really what I want out of a new mainline Halo game. And then for the multiplayer part, I don't need games as a service in Halo. Just do what made it great in the first place.
Yeah.
Make a great arena shooter, a skill-based shooter, and then release, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months after launch, the first map pack, and so on. People, we've talked about how difficult it is to establish a games as a service title in this day and age, and they tried it with Halo Infinite and they weren't able to properly succeed there. I know there are still quite a few people playing Halo at the moment, the diehards, but you wouldn't describe Halo as a games as a service title, an ongoing game that everyone was playing for years and years. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. Yeah. Make it just good, fun, add on it with a couple of map packs, charge us $20 for that map pack or whatnot, and do it like that. And then when everybody died off after 2 or 3 map packs, right? Let it rest for a year or 2, bring out the next game and let everyone be excited again. And it's totally cool. Yeah. I don't see why this model wouldn't work in the year 2024 and beyond. So yeah, that's me on the mainline Halo. So what are the other Halo games?
I was going to say that's always going to be divisive, that one, because of course,
absolutely,
people want to see what happens to the story, or at least tie up the loose ends, and you can't bring Cortana back by doing that. That would make 5 and Infinite completely irrelevant and kind of just essentially cast them out as they never happened. And that would be. I don't know whether that would be a big one for fans to accept as well, I suppose. To say, okay, so what was the point in 5 and Infinite if they never happened? If we're just going back to 4 and then starting from scratch from there?
Go back to 1 and start. I'm not saying remake. Not saying remake. I'm just saying soft reboot. You know, just introduce us to a new storyline. If even, I don't care if there are, like, you know, maybe then controversial views on where the loose ends and this wasn't in the original lore, or I don't care. Just restart the lore from scratch. Do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think one of the other projects might be potential remake of the original Halo games on Unreal.
I could see that happening. Yeah.
As potential, that might even be one of the starters before they even get to the next big game. A bit like Gears have done with E-Day. They've went, right, take it way back. We'll start before everything kicked off. We'll do E-Day first before we look at anything else. Before we continue the story, we'll start at the beginning. And I can see them potentially doing that. Okay, our first test of how Halo plays and looks and runs in Unreal is by redoing the original games in Unreal Engine and seeing how those go down. The original Halo trilogy.
Interesting.
And of course, all of us as a project that love RTSs would like to see a new Halo Wars.
I would love that, man. I loved Halo Wars 1 and especially 2.
Yeah.
But see, this is the obvious things that come to mind. Remake, or one of the continuation of the spin-off games that we already have. Now, I have an interesting theory, Dutch. I think one of the other Halo games that are outside of the main line, of course, that could be in development is they've earlier this week or end of last week, they've introduced the third-person mode for Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
And with that, they open up a lot of possibilities. Obviously, this is just something now for Halo Infinite, but I would love them to do like a third-person action game, maybe even with mild RPG elements in there, third-person Halo, that will then like be, for instance, a continuation of ODST, something like that. Yeah, it doesn't. The other, you have the Chief in the mainline game, and I don't want something like in Halo 5 where I play Halo and then play as Locke and not the Chief. Yeah, I don't need that. But if you look at Reach, if you look at ODST, you had like, you're not playing as the Chief, right? But then transfer this into a third-person action game. You know, maybe some mild RPG elements in there, something where you can like create your own Spartan with focusing on this or that ability or whatnot. Something like that. I would really love them to do that. And I have to change the gameplay real quick.
Oh, they ran out already, is it?
I ran out of... Yeah, my Xbox is still screwing with me when I try to game DVR something. It's... I don't know. So I wasn't able to record like 5 hours of Diablo. My Xbox only allowed me to have one successful recording for 1 hour this week. And I had like 6 broken files that I couldn't open on after recording them. It is so annoying. But hey, back to Halo. Yeah, man. But of course, I want a Halo Wars 3. I want that.
Yep. Bring it back.
Rather sooner than later. Bring it back. Bring it back. Yeah.
But no, there's many possibilities. Again, I think the only key takeaway for all of us, outside of we obviously want a good story next time that captivates us, is just making sure it feels like Halo. That's my main takeaway from all of this. I'm glad it's going to look fancy. I'm glad it's going to be using cutting edge technology, and they're going to strive to be graphically impressive again. But it needs to perform well. It needs to be 60 FPS Halo goodness or 120 FPS Halo goodness as it currently is. And it needs to feel like Halo is just the bottom line. I think that's the only thing, the main thing that could mess up the entire thing going over to Unreal is if it just doesn't feel like Halo. Yeah.
What about... I agree, by the way. But what about the rumors of... Remember, I don't know, 3 years ago or so, those rumors started that we have Halo. Well, it was started as rumor, then the rumor was it's going to become a standalone game or a project or something from their longtime partner. Blanking on the name, help me out. The Battle Royale. No, the studio's name I'm blanking on.
Fire something. Was it Fire something?
Chat, help me out. What's that studio's name? Anyway, that project has been shown off last year at Gamescom behind closed doors. Certain Affinity, thank you, Sin. Yeah, Certain Affinity.
That's the one. Certain Affinity's Battle Royale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Battle Royale that apparently turned into standalone. project, and the scope was apparently bigger than just a battle royale add-on for Halo Infinite, and that's also in comparison to, or along with that, it was also started about the Unreal rumor that Certain Affinity is going to do that in Unreal and not in Slip Space, and then things turned wild, and we all know about rumors and how carefully we have to treat them. Nevertheless, we know for a fact that behind closed doors, we were not the chosen ones. We haven't seen it ourselves, but we know a few people that came out of the presentation at Certain Affinity, and they seem pretty happy about what they've seen behind closed doors at Gamescom 23. So it kind of looks like this project is, or was at least at that point, still in development. And so could this be one of the multiple projects?
I don't think so, because that's not... They're talking about multiple projects at Halo Studios. Whereas Certain Affinity, of course, are not a Halo studio.
Yeah.
So I think that is still separate. Entirely separate. But I think they are using... I think they were mentioning they were using Unreal anyway for Project Tatanka, so...
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
You never know. And with the new name, they've also said we have a new organization in how we handle things, right? It could be that the Certain Affinity game is one of these games. So when do you expect one of those projects come to life? When are we going to play a Halo game from Halo Studios? Maybe the next mainline game or one of the other projects?
Next gen.
So 26.
Possibly, maybe it's 27. I don't think it's close. They've been doing a lot of work, and they've made a point of saying none of these are games, and we've just been doing our project has been testing the viability of working with Unreal Engine, and this is kind of what we've done. We've tasked teams at creating different biomes, and tasked them at playing with the technology, and tasked them at doing X, Y, and Z. So we've got a good idea of the viability of using the engine, so now we're confident in telling you that we're moving over to Unreal Engine. So I think they've spent, and they've said they've spent the last 2 years doing that. So if they spent the last 2 years ensuring the viability of the engine prior to starting any big work on games, and they said they've got multiple projects in the works, but none of them are at a stage that they're kind of close to full development yet. Then I can only imagine that'll be earliest 27.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I would even go further. I know a lot of people now have the hopes that the next Halo game is going to be a launch game for next gen, and with the rumors being out there that 26 is the year where we will see next gen Xbox hardware, even if that slips a year into 27. The announcement was kind of really based on, even if they said it's not a tech demo, it is a tech demo, and that's basically what they have right now. And yes, they have multiple projects in the working that are probably super early in development. We know that a game in a AAA blockbuster game like a Halo, and the next Halo is going to be, again, they try to re-establish it as their flagship IP. It's not done in 3 years. That's just not gonna happen. I think why we got this early announcement and this everything is it makes the hiring process a lot easier now, because now they can really just go into the open. Hey, we're looking for an Unreal Engine 5 developer with that and that experience, and so on. This is easier because keep that under wrap and as a surprise. That's why they kind of had to announce it now. So that the announcement comes from them and not via leaks and job descriptions and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense for them to announce it now, but realistically, if they are in early development, maybe prototyping stuff, toying around with the ideas where the story goes, what's the scope of the next game, what's the concept for multiplayer and so on. Realistically, the game isn't developed within the next 3 years. I doubt that. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I would love to play a Halo as a launch title for a next gen in 26. I would love that. Yeah. But yeah, since it seems like Xbox is finally at this point where they have a continued cadence of quality releases, they can launch a console in 26, have launch games this time because they didn't have any for the Series X or the One X for that matter. That's different this time. Yeah, they have. If they release a console in 26, there are plenty of games going to come out in 26. Perfect Dark, maybe. Is going to be one of them. Outer Worlds 2, I don't know. Plenty of projects that could be that launch title and that system seller along with it, right? So that's totally. They don't really need Halo as that launch title. And
E-Day
maybe
could
I'm
be that
wrong.
launch title.
Pardon me?
E-Day could be that launch title.
Oh, E-Day. Yeah, absolutely. E-Day would be a perfect. You get the nostalgic Xbox gamers. Oh yeah, next gen Xbox launching along with a Gears of War that looks insanely good. Running on my next gen hardware with fingers crossed DLSS and an NVIDIA chip and everything. Awesome. And then launch in the launch window a Perfect Dark along with it, and bam, there you go, all good. So you don't really need the Halo as and so I think it's gonna be a long time. You have to at least say 4 or 5 years realistically. New engine, vastly new team, trying to recapture what the essence of Halo, bring a story that will satisfy old fans and new ones, and with that, all that is not done in 2 years. So I hate to disappoint people that are hoping for a Halo as a launch game in 26, but it's not going to happen. Realistically, we are looking here at the launch in 29, 5 years from now, right? That's maybe 4 years if development or using Unreal really speeds up the development process for them. But that's a realistic time window, 4 or 5 years, 28, 29. So, but yeah, if people in chat do agree, please let us know. You're right, man. Gears of War E-Day as a launch title. Absolutely. That would make so much sense. So much sense. You get the visuals that to show off new hardware. You get the old school Halo fans excited because Gears is back, right? And we've seen the hype after the June showcase, and everyone's loving Gears, and they love that Marcus Phoenix is back, and me too.
But it also brings a new generation of Gears fans into it, because again, it's starting from the origins. So they get the beginning.
It starts at the beginning, and then you have a new Forza game there. You have Perfect Dark there. 26 launch for new hardware along with those titles, man, absolutely. Because I know I'm going a little off topic here, but with Fable coming next year from Playground, I don't see Playground launching 2 games in the same year. So I think a Forza Horizon 6, right, is still 2 years off, and it's also a 26 title.
Yeah.
Within the launch window.
Yeah.
Of course, all those games are going to be cross-gen, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man. And then you got a killer launch lineup for new next-gen hardware with Gears, Forza, and sprinkle in something new with Perfect Dark and State of Decay 2.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Sounds too good? Sounds too good, man. All right. Dutch,
Indeed.
anything you want to add to the Halo conversation?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
All right. Alien Isolation is getting a sequel, man.
It is. Nice surprise announcement. And a welcome one for those who want to shit their pants.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Because Alien Isolation was actually really, really good and well received.
Yeah.
It wasn't the biggest commercial success, though. It just wasn't. And it's been what now? I want to say 10 years, man.
Yeah.
Plus minus.
Yeah.
Something in that ballpark of 10 years.
Still one of the best horror games.
Yeah, absolutely. But since we haven't gotten a sequel within a decade, I thought, okay, Sega's never going to pick that up again. But hey, we were wrong, right?
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. But they mentioned, I want to say, also mentioned that they mentioned it's still pretty early in development, so don't expect that game to be a 25 or 26 game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while, but
it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Something that made me happy this week. Definitely. All right, Dutch. And that already brings us to this week's community questions. Jingle, jingle along.
Jingle, jingle.
All right. So, like every week, we ask our community to send in questions. Usually we do that on Wednesday on Twitter or X, on here on YouTube. And people send me questions sometimes also through Xbox Live or PSN. And so there are multiple ways to send in your questions. And as always, we're trying to answer as many of them as possible. And the first one of this week comes in from Sergeant Sentinel. And he asks, do you think we will get another Halo game this generation, either mainline or spin-off? I mean, I think we basically covered that. Yeah. The next Halo game is years off.
I think no.
So no chance.
No.
Unless all the rumors about 26 have been completely untrue and Xbox is going to launch the next gen in, I don't know, 29
I think the only chance people have is maybe the Certain Affinity game, maybe's. But I don't see anything coming out of Halo Studios.
Yeah, that's a very good point. If the Certain Affinity project is still alive.
Yeah.
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 That has been in development for quite a while.
Yeah.
That I want to say at least 5 years, 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
I haven't mentioned that it's gone, so.
Yeah.
And they usually.
But they never really confirmed that they're doing one either, so.
Yeah, but they did say they were working on a project alongside 343.
Yeah.
So you'd imagine they'd say something along the lines of, even if it was in just a report, and somebody would have picked it up by now if it was gone and reported on.
Yeah. I do agree. So yeah, that could be maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a maybe. All right. AD Metamatic writes in, hey, GoesseN and Dutch, I know GeForce Now isn't the optimal place to play Call of Duty. But I thought I would just try it. Well, when you do, it doesn't recognize it's on Game Pass and asks you to purchase it. Hopefully it's fixed for Black Ops 6. Apparently, Nvidia says it's an Xbox problem. I've seen that. I honestly don't know how pre-orders in Game Pass are handled by GeForce Now. Honestly, I could just see the game pop up as soon as it's out on the service, but it's not visible for you there right now. I am not sure.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that people kind of want to play a Call of Duty, especially since it is like heavily based on having a proper latency, right?
Yeah.
On GeForce Now.
Interesting.
What do you think? Huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would never, again, for shooters, I would never use a streaming service for shooters. And I would never use a streaming service anyway. They're okay, but I'm always going to be native. And that's why I'm advocating for, if Xbox do that handheld, which we believe they still are.
Yes, please.
That it be native
Yes,
and not
please,
streaming.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
We saw what happens when you create. We saw that with that G Cloud, whatever the hell it was. It didn't do well.
Yeah.
It didn't do well. Didn't take off. And as soon as you introduce native handhelds like the Ally and the Steam Deck and things like that into account, it just disappeared into the void and people just ignored it.
Yeah. And honestly, do you really think that there is a market? Why would you get a dedicated Xbox streaming handheld?
Yeah.
Like, there are so many other options that people have that provide them with you can stream through every of these PC handhelds, maybe the ROG Ally or the Lenovo Legion Go or any of the others, a Steam Deck and so on. There are plenty of options already out there that also provide then for you the option to play locally. So there is really, I don't see a market for a cloud-based only handheld. And you've seen it with the PlayStation, what was it called?
Portal.
The PlayStation handheld. Portal. And I know it's a little different because it's not like streaming, it requires you to be in the local home network or in the network where your console is in, and so on. It's a little different.
To be on. Yep.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the use cases are still pretty limited. Especially handheld is something you want to play on the go, right? Although I play a lot of my Ally also in bed, I kind of admit that. But at the end of the day, a portable device is for me something I can take along if I'm traveling, if I sit in a shitty hotel and have to deal with the god-awful Wi-Fi that tunnels through 820,000 VPNs. It's like you need kind of a local game for such a device. So I truly do believe that they are not even doing a Windows-based handheld because there are just too many competitions already out there on the market. If they would bring out a Xbox branded handheld, that is running Windows, the competition would be too big, and they would also get into trouble with their partners because they have been partnering heavily with, for instance, Asus on the ROG Ally, right, and so on. If they do a handheld, it's gonna be the console OS, whatever that may be in the next gen when they release the handheld. So let me shout out Lao Shimazaki, I hope I pronounced that correctly, for a super chat that came in of 1,000 yens. And thank you so much for the support. And he says, reminder, Metaphor is out in a couple of hours. And I know so many people are super excited. And I'm happy that it actually turned out to be apparently a really, really good game.
Yeah.
But I have too much to play right now, so Metaphor is again something for me. I'll gonna dive in when I have a little break at the Christmas break or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Great game. Apparently. Drawn TJ writes in and asks this, hey, Boxy and Dutch, with Halo now being made in Unreal Engine and having multiple projects and teams under Halo Studios banner, do you think we see a third-person Halo game or another RTS or a tactical third-person Halo game that's gritty and horror and maybe, just maybe, Halo Battle Royale? Yeah, man, something like a, third-person Halo game, I mentioned that earlier, that is specifically set in a dark and gritty horror environment, putting the flood in the focus, and man, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's another one it's all Halo questions tonight. Another one we've covered. We've went through all the different ones we'd like to see, but we've said this a few times. We'd love to see the flood come back into it and return back to the kind of the horror aspect of the flood.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed they do that. Fingers crossed, because everybody loved the flood in Halo, and they wanted to see more of that.
Yeah. Lao in the chat says he wants a Halo RPG. Yeah, man, I would love that. Build your own Spartan. Like, that would be absolutely fantastic, right? But you're right. A lot of Halo questions tonight. I mean, it's been the big topic of the week, right?
Yeah.
Tony writes in and asks, with Halo Studios taking the franchise forward in Unreal Engine, what is one dream idea or wild change you would love to see added? I'd love to have a spin-off game like First Descendants or Space Marine 2 or Starfield, where you play as your Spartans visiting NPCs in a tower hub and taking on missions. Yeah, man, do that in third person, RPG elements. Use a spin-off for that.
Yeah.
And bring back the Halo main game to a linear game.
Yeah.
Get rid of the open world and stuff. I don't know. That would just be too good, man.
Yeah, but semi-open world again, like they did originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's just, again, my spin-off things. Just I just want to see more of the flood. So maybe it's a kind of a horror-esque spin-off with the flood.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be cool. All right, Dutch. A non-related Halo question comes in from BT Maverick.
Yes.
Who asks, what's up, Dutch and Box? What horror games would you guys like to see a remake of, and have you guys jumped into Silent Hill 2 yet? So, Dutch, let you take this one first.
I've forgotten the bloody name of it, and it's not been long since I've got it. What the hell was the name of it? Condemned. Condemned is always number one. I want to see Condemned return. 100%. Condemned needs to come back. That is my ultimate horror game that I want to return.
And have you been jumping into Silent Hill 2?
Not yet. I'm glad it's come back. I'm glad it's getting good reviews. I'm glad people are enjoying it, but not yet. That's another one for the future backlog.
So I haven't played Silent Hill myself either, so it's just too much to play. I just finished Shattered Space. Vessel of Hatred keeps me busy, and man, Visions of Mana is also a massive game that I'm so in love with.
Yeah.
Really, really do enjoy that. Again, I said it at the very beginning of the show. If that continues in that kind of quality throughout the game, this is gonna be in my list of Game of the Year contenders.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't had time to jump into Silent Hill, but you know what? I would like to see as a remake. Remember on the GameCube,
Right.
Eternal Darkness.
Oh yes, yes, I remember Eternal Darkness. Good shout. Yeah.
That is one horror game that I would really, really love to see come back.
Good
Eternal
shout.
Darkness on the GameCube was just so amazing. Like, I haven't played a horror game up until that point back in the time, that was before man, damn, today I'm blanking on too much. What was the horror game that got a remake recently from EA?
Dead Space.
Dead Space. It was before those days, and it was before Resident Evil 4 came out, and yes, we had Resident Evil 1 on the OG PlayStation, but Eternal Darkness really took it to the next level. Like, I remember specifically the insane atmosphere that they created with the audio design in that game, and they didn't really just rely on jump scares, which was basically Resident Evil 1 was based on, the horror being like jump scare moments. You remember the dogs coming through the window and so on. And Eternal Darkness was just different in that sense. It was the atmosphere that was the horror, similar to Dead Space. Yes, Dead Space also had its jump scare moments, but the horror came through the atmosphere. And for me, it was Eternal Darkness, the first game that did something like that. And it is just, so I would love that. Yeah. And Dustin in the chat says Nintendo owns the patent for a gameplay element in Eternal Darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's why we won't see jump and runs other than Mario, because patents and so on with Nintendo. Yeah, but that already brings us to an end of this week's podcast.
It does.
Yeah.
Slightly short.
I want to say
shorter show for us, but
2 hours. But hey, I want to say a big thank you to this awesome community, everyone who joined us here tonight in the chat. Of course, a big shout out also to the listeners that listen after the fact on this podcast services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or here on YouTube, of course. It's been a blast as always. It has been a blast indeed, Dutch. So let everyone know what you've coming up and what you're working on, man.
Yeah. Again, just that time of the year, just all hands on deck at work, and then relaxing when I'm not. So that's pretty much all I'm doing: gaming, relaxing, gym, and then podcast every week with yourself. That's what I'm doing.
Indeed. And we're going to do that next week, of course, again.
Yeah.
At the regular time, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Europe, or 7 p.m. UK time. You can join us live here on YouTube or live on X. We actually we never mentioned that, but we also stream live on X, and we got quite a few viewers there as well.
Nice.
So shout out to those guys as well, everyone who watches here on X. We will be back next week, guys. There's plenty of awesome games out there. Metaphor's about to release, right? H, you can never go wrong with H. Visions, Vessel of Hatred, and all the other good stuff. So do enjoy your gaming. I hope you're gonna have a fantastic weekend. The weekend is near. So, and we will be back next week, and we hope to see you then. Exactly. Good shout, right?
Yes.
We see you guys next week. Have a good one, and don't forget to game on.
rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. I'd rather be a dreamer,